All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the last day of Next. Thanks for joining us for the Dev 109 session on accelerating time to market with APIs and microservices. Cool. So I'm Matt Steele. I'm a digital engagement lead with Google Cloud, and I'm going to kick off this session. I know you really want to hear from our friends at Equifax. David Stevens, who heads up architecture, is going to discuss their API journey. And finally, we have an awesome demo by Dharmendra, who goes by DP, and he's going to show the new Equifax developer experience that launched a few weeks ago. So, I live in Mobile, Alabama, which is pretty far from just about every Google office and most of our large customer sites. I travel almost every week for work to meet prospects and customers, and when I start each week, I'm sitting on an airplane at the end of a runway, and acceleration is extremely important for me to get to where I need to be. So why is acceleration important to enterprise IT and the business? After years of experimentation, Agile has finally gone mainstream. Companies inside and outside Silicon Valley are using some form of this methodology in their software development lifecycle to enable rapid building and frequent delivery of software updates with continuous integration. Under this approach, companies are seeing increased productivity within their app dev teams, faster release of digital products, and improved customer experiences, all with reduced cycle times and improved productivity. So how are microservices revolutionizing app development? Along with the rise of cloud computing and Agile, the increasing use of microservices has profoundly affected how enterprises develop software. Microservices enable businesses to innovate faster. Development teams can independently develop, deploy, and scale components of large applications. The adoption of cloud, containers, and CI/CD tools has made microservices implementations much easier, leading to more and more modern software being built as a set of microservices. App development teams implement microservices using a variety of stacks like Kubernetes and Netflix OSS, depending on their needs. And all of these microservices use web APIs as a mechanism to communicate with one another. So both the concept of an API and the concept of a microservice involve structure and interactions of software. A microservice can be misconstrued as simply an endpoint to provide an API, but microservices have much more flexibility and capabilities than that. An easy way to think about an API is, it's basically a contract of actions you can request for a particular service. APIs are in use today in a multitude of web apps, such as social media, banking, telco, healthcare, and many more. The standardized contract allows for external apps to interface with one another. In today's world, APIs are usually developed using RESTful style. These APIs have a series of verbs associated with HTTP actions like get, post, and put. So the Apigee API platform enables enterprises to accelerate innovation, provide shared services and data, and adapt to market and customer needs. APIs have become the foundation of that fast-moving digital economy. As customer expectations increase, companies need to be able to meet those demands with flexible and scalable technology. Appaji applies security and traffic management policies and routes requests to microservices while orchestrating your legacy services and monolith apps. So I'd like to introduce you to David Stevens, who's going to speak to you about how he and his team are accelerating time to market with APIs and microservices at Equifax.
Thank you, Matt.
Sure, thanks.
So good morning, everyone. If you're like me, it's Thursday. It's been a long week. We're all starting to get a little tired. So feel free to kick back, relax, fall asleep. Don't listen to anything we're about to say. If you are from Equifax, I would try to get you to go ahead and leave so DP and I aren't subject to instant and infinite ridicule. But I don't think I'll get any takers. So I am the chief architect for Equifax. What that means is that I actually work with a team, a globally dispersed team of architects who are all experts in a variety of disciplines, who are working to define where we're going, what we're doing, how we're doing it, and build the Equifax of the future. So why we talk about the Equifax of the future is because we have, well, the Equifax of yesterday, right? We're in the middle of a transformation. The Equifax of yesterday is an amazing company, very large, a lot larger than people think, with multiple business units doing lots of different things around the world. And they've been doing it for over 100 years, right? So certainly over the last 20, 30 years, as technology has really become commonplace within the in fintech industries, you know, they've done it, we've done it, Equifax has done it the same exact way that most fintechs have, right? Sorry, I've got a white line here I can't cross. So, and what does that mean? Well, you know, we've got a lot of mainframes. We've got lots of database systems. We have lots of custom-built systems. We have lots and lots and lots of data centers. We have tons of redundancy in how things are built, what's being built, what capabilities are being driven. We've got, you know, amazing engineers working around the world, you know, all working on roughly the same thing at the same time in some places, and they're doing it in, you know, an approach that's, well, adds to that, right? It takes time, right? It's we've introduced latency with our legacy within our development methodologies and processes because of the complexity and the complications that we have within our scale. And so that starts to drive us to where we are today with the transformation that we're on. Certainly, folks know Equifax has had some fun over the last couple of years. Within that, we've been driving a lot of transformation, investing a tremendous amount of time, money, effort, energy into that transformation, starting with security hardening, making sure with this vast array of systems that we have, are we doing the right things at the right time in the right place? Do we have the right controls? And of course, we do, right? We've got a powerful team that's working through that. At the same time we're doing that, we're starting to revamp our systems and how we're approaching those things. And so we started, I don't know, roughly about a year ago with what's the next stage of our technology transformation? How do we take all of these things and do something a little bit different? Flip each one of these things on their head, custom assembled, not custom built, right? Common technology stacks, not disparate technology stacks. Well-documented and discoverable services available in a self-service model. Rapid onboarding of customers and consumers, days, weeks, minutes, hours, not days, months, and years. Highly agile, adaptable work streams, and a constantly evolving capability that doesn't necessarily require our consumers and customers to constantly evolve with us, but they can adopt as they need to, right? We want to enable, not disrupt our customers, but at the same time, we need to give them more, give our consumers more on a minute by minute basis, and not say, "Oh, we got to wait 6 months to get something." And so, you know, there's a lot of aspects to that. So we sat down, and the first thing we did is developed an idea of a microservices-based architecture. We have a lot of commonality around the globe of how we do things. And so we said, well, let's break those things into those capabilities into discrete microservices. You remember Matt's slide, which we call our core services framework. It takes discrete capabilities, moves those, and then how do we then have those be system-to-system conversations as opposed to, you know, human to system conversations, et cetera. And so we said, okay, well, got it, microservices, perfect, makes sense. Capabilities, we aligned to those, tons of them that we're breaking into those. We said, well, we've got to have a way to connect all of that, right? We've got to have a way to implement that strategy on a global scale and focus on the capabilities that drive that value. How do we develop and deploy those reusable microservices? How do we let both internal and external consumers, meaning our dev teams, our product groups, our product alliances, our customers, take those things, stitch them together to build the capabilities that they need. Do it without requiring tons of customization of code, but really configurable capabilities. create a consistent experience across all that. Simplify the formats, right? Make data available whether you want to consume it, you might want to consume it, you might not want to consume it. Do it all in a governed manner. You can imagine, if any of you are in fintech, regulatory issues, we've got them out the wazoo. And so we have to have systems that allow for that discrete sort of management of those policies. Reduce the response times on getting data. You know, you think about your, a stack that includes, 13 hops to get to, root data and everything that has to be done in between. You're talking about some substantial transaction time. So how do we reduce that? How do we then also take all of these things, reduce the risk on our back-end stability, right? And how we do it with security from the ground up, built in, not bolted on. So we turned all those into requirements. We said, okay, well that's our requirements for how we're going to do this thing with APIs and stitching our microservices together, so that ultimately we can reduce that time to integration, improve our speed to market, have that faster response time, lower our maintenance cost, have shorter feedback loops, right? Have more rapidly available capabilities to the marketplace, to our both internally and externally. Eating our own dog food, if you will, right? So we said, well, okay, well, we got to create a framework for our strategy. We said, well, okay, first let's establish a digital strategy. We kind of did that. We aligned our organization and culture, right? So we were very monolithic in our architecture and very monolithic in our across multiple monoliths, if you will, in the way our technology teams were organized. We said, you know what, if we're gonna go with instead of following Conway, we're gonna beat him over the head a little bit and say, listen, let's, if we're gonna build this around microservices, let's build our teams and dedicate teams to owning and building those microservices. Build it, own it, operate it, run true SRE model for everything we're doing. In total culture shift for the company, right? Which of course you can't just replace a culture, you have to guide it, transform it, and tweak it, and move it along. So that became part of our strategy. We had to go out and look and evaluate and build or deploy supporting technologies, right? GCP, other cloud providers will go unnamed. The tools that they provide, whether they're managed services, whether they're capabilities where they're simply run, infrastructure and as a service type things. And then we had to engage our partner ecosystem, to make sure that we're doing the right thing and learn from each other. We're learning from our customers are learning from us. We're learning from our partners are learning from us. We have Google teams deep in the bowels of the company who are embedded in helping us do a lot of things. One of those things being, of course, implementing Apigee now. So that sort of set up our framework, right? And set up our thing. It says, okay, well, then what is our strategy? It's APIs everywhere. APIs for everything. Everything is API. It's not, you're not going, even internally, we want to ensure that this service is talking to that service. Everybody's using a common logging, monitoring, metering services. Everybody's using a common this. If you need this capability, that service is discoverable. The swaggers are out there. You can grab it, deploy it, and run with it. Internally open sourced, right? So if you need to extend it, you can extend it. Govern it back into the company, the team that owns it, and do all of this to basically what it says up there is kind of rapidly enable those capabilities and minimize the investment, right? It's what all of our CFOs are looking for, and so that's what we're trying to do. It's certainly what we want, makes our lives easier, improves our quality of life, improves our quality of service to our customers, improves the quality of service to our investors and our partners. We'll drive high levels of automation. Be able to incorporate more scope faster, be a lot more efficient how we're doing things, be able to personalize those APIs where through configuration, be able to adapt as you can, as you want to as a customer, adapt those changes or not, right? So kind of where are we? Well, we started an API program. Right? We defined our microservices architecture. We started an API program to work at. We started a tribe, call it Center of Excellence here, but we call them internally, we call them tribes if you're familiar with Spotify model. We started a tribe that's actually defining those things. We have a product alliance who owns the product aspect, the external aspect of it. We have an internal product thing that's actually defining, hey, you know what, development team X, what do you need out of our capability? We started both internal and partner APIs so that we can start leveraging, pushing those globally. With the centralized governance of these things, so instead of everybody getting to do whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want, we said, well, no, here's some guardrails, principles. We don't want to be overly prescriptive, but we also don't want to be overly hands-off, right? So you end up with sprawl and disparate, disparate technologies and right back to the problem statement we had in the first place. So we said, let's not do that. Let's actually have some governance around how these things are done. Want to drive the adoption, right, heavily through discovery. Every tribe, every microservice has a page in our service catalog that says, hey, here's what we do, here's who we are, here's our support infrastructure, here's who you call, here's who owns it, here's who designed it, here's the link to the source code, here's the swagger, right? Here's some example code, here's how you do this, and that's internally, right? Where are we on that journey? Well, we're down it, right? I mean, we've got a long way to go, but that's what we're doing. And we are making strong headway in that. And what that's helping us do is actually define that, okay, if we want our customers to engage, whether they're furnishing data or consuming data from us, we want them to engage the same way, right, as a partner ecosystem within those developers. So that's helping us define the capabilities and the requirements that we need and that we have around our gateway platform, right? Ultimately, that helps us transform the customer acquisition. I think we're doing okay, right? We've got some early stuff. I think DP is going to give us a demo here in a short bit, right? I think we're doing okay, right? We've got the tribes, rather, that are in the product alliances are really starting to grasp onto it. And it's a struggle, a little bit, right? We've got to operate the old, keep that running while we build the new. The new, we're not really evolving code. We're completely replacing it, which makes for a lot of fun. But it's going okay, right? We're pretty excited about it. There's a lot of folks in here from the architecture team and the technology leadership team who I wish weren't in the room. But these are all folks that are engaged every minute of every day in actually making this come to life. And the amount of passion that we have in doing it has been pretty amazing. Because we're doing this on a global scale, right? A lot of people don't realize this. You might all. But a lot of people don't realize that Equifax is not just a US company, right? We are global. We're in 24 countries. We're doing things. The credit industry actually exists everywhere in the world in some form or fashion. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative, sometimes it's the way those things work. But it actually exists everywhere. And right now we're in 24 of those countries: Middle East, Asia, North America, South America, Australia, and New Zealand, Canada. We're kind of all over the place. And so we're doing things beyond just credit reports, right? We do business intelligence and employment verification. We do identity and fraud services. We're one of the largest holders of identity in the world, believe it or not. We have 1.5 billion unique or something like that. I don't know if I put somebody on the spot. I think it's something like 1.5 billion people within our scope, right? And so we're providing that on a global scale. Well, so we needed a solution. We needed a platform that would meet that global scale. It would meet that availability requirement on providing access to all of these services and these capabilities, providing access to the data in a governed model. And that's where we settled on Apigee and used that as the core for our framework, right? And how we're producing those services out to the market. We're running that all over the world. We have multiple regions. We're running in multiple providers. We are fairly leaning heavily towards the GCP stack at this point. If anybody read our earnings call, I think the most used word was Google. But we have to be multi-cloud. Certainly, everybody knows Apigee's or where it came from. We have a lot run on AWS. We have a lot running here. We have a lot running there, and that's fine. It adds some complexity, but it adds this, makes sure that we're actually paying attention and doing things the right way. Because this is the kind of stuff that we're producing through it, right? These are some of the things I mentioned, that we have lots of different types of clients of our developer portal. We have customers, mobile, web, our internal services framework, that's the bottom one that got kind of cut off there. That's our internal users of the same thing, all right? All going through a gateway, which is providing us governance, authentication, analytics, monetization, et cetera, in a framework that is not custom built, right? So everybody's familiar with it, or can be easily familiar with it. And that we're pushing our swaggers out all over the place so that people can get it and actually onboard onto the developer portal that DP is going to show you in a minute. Because we're providing this type of stuff, right? Like I mentioned, asset, wealth, verification. Did anybody know we do all these things? Besides, if you're not at Equifax, a lot of people think we're just credit, but we're so far beyond that. And so we have to be able to provide for a robust methodology to integrate. Like I said, we're down that journey. We launched our dev portal, publicly launched our dev portal at DP. I don't know how long ago it was, but we're already onboarded a number of customers into that. They're starting to use it. We're starting to see some really great results out of it. Just as we are today, we're reducing the design of some of those APIs from things that would take months because we're going a lot more discrete. And we're doing this on a microservices base. We're down to a week. We're reducing that time to market in a lot of cases. We've got drastically improved security. We were already in good shape, but it's bolted on, right? Now we're building it now we're doing it, and it's just inherent in what we're doing. We're enabling our customers through our self-service portal, right? Big deal. Love our customers. Customers love us most of the time. But they really are starting, especially in the banking industry, they're starting to move from being, we'll never go on the cloud, to it's like, hey, Equifax, what are you doing? Can you help us, right? Where we're helping them move down these paths. And then we have some banks and some customers. They take the Credit Karmas and the Cap Ones and stuff that are far beyond us, and they're begging us to move forward. Well, this is us being able to now start to help them and do this instead of a batch process running over SFTP. We're going to API to API, which drastically changes the performance and the interaction that we have with them, and ultimately the satisfaction, which is fantastic, right? And then we're getting a lot more visibility. We're already starting to see and learn and discover things about how we were doing those. Looking forward, we're releasing a lot of industry-specific product suites, talent verification services for human resources, our government services that are coming through, our largest division, USIS, open up the data hub concept, which is being able to open up data sources in a very protected and regulated manner to the outside world. That, of course, you can imagine has a lot of things around it. But you know what? Data exchange is what the world's about, right? So we are one of the largest keepers of data. We want to enable the market to be able to use that to improve consumer life, improve customer life, improve business, improve whatever your use case might be. So I think with that, we'll ask Dharmendra, DP, it's easier to say, to come set up his demo real quick. And I think after that, we'll take a couple of questions.
Right. Just going to put it up. Okay, it's right. Okay. Yeah, thank you, David, and good afternoon, everyone.
I'm Dharmendra Parihar. I go by DP. And I'm the digital experience leader at Equifax. I manage a team that manages the API gateway platform, and we build all the products and solutions on it. And just to give you guys a background, so we started this whole API journey almost 3 to 4 years back. And it was last year, under the leadership of our CTO, Bryson, we really accelerated the program, and we rolled out the first beta version of our developer portal. So I'm going to show you what we have built, our whole API platform, the developer portal. And for us, it has been a real game changer. For us and our customers, the way we can integrate, our customers can integrate to our APIs, and we can expose these APIs and products to them was a real game changer. So it was a win-win for both us and our customers. So I'm going to go over the demo. I'll show you the whole portal and some of the backend services that we have. And we'll be taking questions at the end of the session. And so Matt told me there is a Dory, online Dory, that you guys can go in, and if you have any questions, you can post it there. So our API portal, the developer portal we call it, is an interface to all our APIs and products to our developers and customers. So if I'm going to go and jump into the developer portal here, which is developer.equifax.com. So that's our developer portal. So traditionally, our customers and business partners and developers typically get this URL, maybe from a sales contact or business contact. They might pass on this URL. Developers will go in there and check out this portal, right? The other way is what typically most of the people do these days is just go to Google, right, and search for these. So me as a developer, let's say I go into one of the best search engine, Google out there, and I look for, as a developer, I want to see what APIs Equifax has, right? So you would just type Equifax APIs, right? You hit enter. So it's going to show them our developer portal right here on the first link, right? You click on this. This takes you to our portal. So now I, as a developer, is into the portal, and I'm just looking through the different sections here. So you have all the products that we have listed, some documentation here on how to get started, and some information on how you can contact us in case you have any issues or questions, right? So since we have rolled out the beta version, we have a lot more products right now that are being rolled out to the portal. For this beta version, we have rolled out a suite of InstaTouch products that we have. And InstaTouch is our, it's a flagship frictionless pre-fill consumer authentication and pre-fill solution. So we can identify a consumer purely based on his device with real-time integration with our telecom partners and Equifax data assets. So you don't have to go through this whole process of filling up your entire information, your name, address, other details, verify your identity. Like all this manual process is completely eliminated. It's just few keystrokes, 7 keystrokes, I believe, is all some basic information we need, and we can authenticate and we can pre-fill all your information. So it's a really cool product. It goes by the name InstaTouch. And InstaTouch ID is the product that does the consumer identity verification and pre-fill. And then we have additional products that are built on top of InstaTouch. Once we have verified your identity, we can provide you additional Equifax data assets like pre-screen offers, a pay, where we can pull in your credit card and actually use that to make a payment, employment, your account on file, and etc. Right? So we have a lot of these products that are built on top of the, once the pre-fill and authentication is complete, we can provide you additional Equifax data assets. So let's say I, as a developer, go in here and I click on this link to learn more about this product. It gives you an overview and some benefits and details around what the API does. And at this point, the developer really wants to go and dig into the APIs, right? Because that's what developer want. Hey, show me the specifications, the APIs, the request response. So for the developer, if he is really interested in getting into the specifications, he has to sign into the portal. So this is where we have a link here where the developer can go in and register for an account on the developer portal. And everything here is self-serve. The moment you go in here, you fill in your information, you accept the terms and conditions, and you register, you immediately get an email notification saying, hey, your account is created, verify your registration, create a password, and you'll have a credentials created right away to log into the portal. So one thing I want to mention here is we have two forms of registration. One is an individual registration, and then we have company registration. And typically, we recommend our partners and customers and developers to register as a company because that gives you a lot more benefit in terms of once you have a company account, you can go and add other developers into your company subscription. So you don't have to come to us. You can just manage your own account. You can add more developers. Any subscription that you create, all your developers in your company get shared that, right? So it's all completely self-serve. And we have a few additional things that come with a company subscription, which I'm going to show you. But ideally, we recommend going in and signing up as a company. So once you have created your credentials, I'm going to log in to the portal with my credentials right now. OK. So once you are logged in, it will show your name here. And you can go back and see the same products here. I'm going to go back to InstaTouch ID. And now I can actually go in and click on the technical specifications. So here, once you come in here, it actually gives you the entire API specifications in a completely open API specification format. You can just click on this. Developers can download the API specifications. They can play around with it. On the left here, it shows a list of APIs that you need to call for the authentication and pre-fill InstaTouch ID solution. And the good thing here is, once you click on these APIs, it's going to show the customer or the developer pretty much all the information that he needs to pass to the API, right? So it has all the details around what goes in the request, the headers, the payload, what kind of fields there are, what type of field it is, and it shows you what the response is going to look like, what will come back from the API, and on the right here, it actually shows you a sample request and response also. So a really cool feature here on all these APIs is a tryout link, right? So I can just click on this link, and the developer can, on this portal right here, make an API call to our backend sandbox environment and get a response back. So he can actually test these APIs right here from the browser, make a call all the way to the Google Apigee platform gateway, into the backend target endpoint, get a response back, and get it back here on the browser. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So once you go back to the getting started, right? So there are a list of things already listed on how to go about executing these APIs, right? So the first thing we recommend, or you actually have to do, is subscribe to the products, because there are certain things that need to be created before you can make a call to these APIs. So essentially what happens is all these APIs are protected by OAuth2O authorization tokens. So you really need to have an authorization token before you can make an API call to any of these products that we have here. So to get a token, you need to subscribe to the product and then generate a token. So I'm going to go and click on the subscribe. And I already have one subscription, but I'm going to create one more. So you just go in here, click on request subscription. You pick the products that you want to subscribe to. Let's say I'm going to pick InstaTouch ID. And you can pick more than one product here. So once you click submit, at this point, me as a developer has already subscribed to the product. We actually have created a subscription in a completely self-serve model. And the customer or the developers can actually click on their subscription here. This is the one that just got created. And it will actually show them all the credentials that are created for them to generate a OAuth2O authorization token, right? So now I go back, and I'm going to go ahead and create a token, OAuth token that I need for the API calls. So I just click on the token API call. I'm going to just take one of the existing. So now here, you can actually do a tryout. You fill in your information, the client ID and secret that you created in the subscription before. Just put those values in here, make a call. This goes to the backend system in real time, makes a call to the OAuth authorization service, and it will come back with a token. So this is the access token that I've got from the OAuth service. Right? Now I just take this token, and I can go ahead and make API calls to any of these APIs. So I'm going to show you something else here. So let me put this token API call. Okay. I can make a call. So this actually sends you all the response back from the sandbox environment. So the developer actually made a request, sent it all the way to the backend, and got a response back. So what I'm going to show you now is the backend system. Right? So this is our Google Apigee gateway. And what I'm going to show you is typically what happens is whenever customers are testing these APIs, either in the sandbox or in a test environment or production, they have a lot of these challenges, right? Where they're having issues, they want us to troubleshoot. It has been very challenging for us to really troubleshoot and figure out, hey, where it is, looks like we have given you the right specifications, but they're not getting the right response. So a really cool feature that comes out of the box, and Apigee, like David and Matt mentioned, it has a lot of things that come with the platform, right? But one of the cool things that I want to show you is, and that has really helped us in troubleshooting our customers' issues real time through the gateway, is it's called a trace functionality. So I'm going to go in here, pull up the backend API, and I'm going to click on the trace link here. So when I say this API and enable trace, I can actually go and start a trace. So at this point, anything that is coming to this sandbox API is going to be recorded, and it will actually show me what's happening or where it's failing or is it successful. So now I go back here, and I'm going to make the same API call again from the browser. So this time, it should actually show me the entire trace. OK. This is really cool, because what it shows me here is this is where the request came in to the backend Apigee gateway. I can click on this. It shows me all the headers that came into the gateway. If I go down, it shows me the entire payload that was sent from the customer or the developer. In this case, I was the one who was actually sending it from the browser. It shows you all the data here. And then it shows you a list of policies. So we have a lot of security policies that we execute against these APIs, right? So these are the policies. It's showing me that it's executing all the security policies. We have standard policies. We have spike arrest, rate monitoring, quota APIs, IP whitelisting, and pretty much all these APIs. And you can actually click on these different policies. You can get details of how long it took to execute these policies, if you want to go and tweak these policies. And then once the policies are all passed, the request goes to the backend sandbox environment. And this is where, again, it shows the same thing. It'll show you all the headers and payload that was sent to the backend. This is the response. It shows you what came back from the target endpoint, which is the sandbox endpoint. And then this is what is the response that's actually sent back to the customer. So it's going to show you what response was sent back. So this is really cool. I mean, this, to me, I really like this feature. It gives you complete insights into what's happening when the APIs are flowing through the platform. You can trace through everything, tells you how much, in terms of performance, it shows you how long it's taking to execute these policies, and then, all the details that you get with the trace here. And in fact, I'm going to go back and maybe change the token here, OK? And so if I send this request to the backend, it actually failed, right? So I can go back here, and I can look at the trace. So if you see the trace that I ran before, passed all the checks and went to the backend and came back with a response. But here, just looking at this, right, I know it failed right here. I see this mark here, and it says that, hey, it failed in the token, authorization token validation. So this has been really cool. OK, so let me go back and show you another feature that we have built for our customers is, So our customers, right, once they have tested their APIs against the sandbox, they have built their client applications, tested everything, they are all good, and they want us to promote their subscription to the test environment, right, test or integration. All that is completely self-serve. They don't have to reach out to us. All they need to do is they just go back here into their subscription, go into their company subscription, and creating the subscription is the same process that I showed you earlier. All you need to do is go and say, hey, request subscription, pick the products, create your subscription. But here, once they have created a subscription, this is an existing subscription I created, they are in the sandbox right now. Once they have tested and they want to promote this subscription to the test, all they need to do is just go in here and click this button, select it, few fields of information here, enter their IPs for whitelisting, and they submit the request. That's it. At this point, the Equifax product team gets the request, they approve it, and their entire subscription is now available in test for them to do integration testing. OK, let me show you, since I was on the back end, I just want to quickly show you a few things here that we really like with the Apigee platform is the reports. Right? So I'm going to go back and show you some of the reports that have been really nice to look at, which is especially the developer engagement. So what this does is it actually shows me a list of developers and apps and how many developers have registered, how many apps they are building. And these numbers were really nice to look at. We see like a lot of developers are coming in, they are trying these APIs, they are building their products. So all that statistics I can pull right here. So if I look at it, we just rolled it out, but I'm seeing that we already have 1,334 developers. 179 applications have been built from these developers. And this is all from what date? Just one day, right? So, this is the kind of enablement we are doing for our customers and developers, where we are really seeing people coming in and trying these APIs, creating their apps. Another cool thing that you can see in the report is the geo map. This actually shows you across the world where all our developers are building these apps and where all they are accessing our applications. So if I click on United States, it would actually even show me what states they are coming from. And I can go back to a week, and I can see that we have developers all these different areas coming in and building APIs or applications against our APIs. OK, so I think that is all I had for the demo. One thing I want to say is, so whatever I showed you in the last 15 minutes is where a developer comes in, registers to the portal, subscribes to an API, goes through the documentation, have all the specifications, try these APIs out against the live sandbox environment, and then create their subscription and push them to a testing integration environment. And the same process, they can even push it to production. Showed you in 15 minutes would take us weeks and weeks of manual work, traditionally in the old legacy ways. And if not months, it would take us weeks and weeks of work. So this has really accelerated and enabled our customers to integrate with our APIs and products much, much faster.